So, there are a lot of people out there that don't realize that the exploitation film genre is actually a very expansive genre. It's probably one of the only genres of film. It's probably the only genre of film that has as many like subgenres within it as it does. I mean, I didn't count, but there's quite a few. So I thought I'd do a little, countdown of probably my personal favorite exploitation film subgenres. But before I even get into the list, I thought I'd give you guys a few little glimpses at some really, really abnormal subgenres. Starting off with our list of somewhat abnormal ones, we have dwarfsploitation. Dwarfsploitation is literally exploitation films about dwarves. So this includes blood-sucking freaks and the sinful dwarf, stuff like that. There's mockbusters, which some of you might know of. They're films that have similar titles and like cover art and poster art to bigger budgeted films, so that people will buy them. A big person that's involved with making these films is Asylum, and they they made Sharknado, but Asylum, when Paranormal Activity came out, they made Paranormal Entity, and it seems like on almost every single DVD release of like one of their movies that's like a ripoff of a horror film, it seems like they feel the need to add like a big warning thing on them to make them seem more attractive to people. I've noticed that. CGI exploitation, films that overuse really bad CGI, and the big one, nunsploitation, exploitation films about nuns. I think it's needless to say none of these subgenres are going to be on this list. So let's get started, shall we? This genre is not strange in a classical sense, although I think it's kind of strange. When I think exploitation films, I think, like really low budget, low brow, gross, just violent, in really bad taste movies. And this genre is actually all around a pretty well respected one, especially if you're looking at some of the legendary directors within the genre. I'm of course talking about spaghetti westerns. Spaghetti westerns are westerns created by Italians, and the only reason I'm putting this one at number 5 is because about a month ago I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for the first time, and it's absolutely amazing. So I feel like this is probably one of the most underappreciated, yet at the same time overappreciated subgenres within exploitation films. And at number 4, we have the cannibal genre, the Italian cannibal genre to be specific. The Italian cannibal genre started out in the 70s with, I believe, it was either Jungle Holocaust or The Man from River Deep River Deep Savages, or Deep River Savages, something like that. It started off with those films, and basically the film that's got it to be really big was Cannibal Holocaust, which, I don't know how many times I've said this in many videos, but Cannibal Holocaust is one of my all-time favorite movies, so I don't think it's hard to see why I put it on the list. I haven't seen a ton of cannibal films, I'll be honest. I think at most I've probably seen maybe 3 or 4. And I've only found like a few that I actually enjoyed for the most part. It's not, as big as the other subgenres, but I can definitely think of like a bunch of subgenres off the top of my head that are a lot lesser known, a lot, a lot more unknown than the cannibal genre is. And at number 3, at number 3, we have the Nazi-exploitation genre. If you can't tell by the fact that there's a ALSA Shield 50 SS poster behind my head, I'm a pretty decent fan of this genre. Again, this is one of those genres I haven't seen a ton of movies from, but I still liked what I've seen, and I still think it's probably one of the most interesting and like bizarre and kind of macabre genres out there. It's definitely not for those who are easily offended. I could say that much. Alright, now number 2, we have probably the most stereotypical and probably most hated subgenre of not just exploitation films, but probably horror in general. Not currently, but because of how big it got and how many people thought they could make their own films within this genre, it kind of went too far. I'm of course talking about the slasher film genre. The slasher film genre consists of movies like Maniac, My Bloody Valentine, Pieces, Halloween, Psycho, Stage Fright, the Slumber Party Massacre, Cat in the Brain, Children of the Corn, Blood Feast, and even Bloody Birthday. I don't think I need to say anything about this genre, because this is probably the most well-known genre under exploitation films, and a lot of people don't even know that slasher films fall under exploitation films. So it's kind of interesting to look at and think about. And there's even a documentary about slasher films called Going to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher Film, and I watched it about a year ago, and it was really, really interesting, and it helped me find some lesser known slasher films that I've definitely reviewed and watched some of them, as well as I'm going to. Alright, and at number 1, we have the one, the only, the splatter film genre. Probably, well, I mean, not even probably my favorite. Most likely my favorite, because it almost seems like a lot of exploitation films under the genres I've just previously mentioned, except for spaghetti westerns, are usually, they usually also can fall under splatter films. And splatter films, I mean, if it isn't obvious by the name, splatter films are films that are just violent for the sake of being violent. Stuff like Tokyo Gore Police and Necromantic and Brain Dead and I'm burnt this morning. Intruder, Video Violence, the films of Lucio Fulci, Zombie Holocaust. Almost every zombie movie could fall under this genre, which is probably why it's my favorite, because it's not just one, specific type of splatter film. There's so many. I mean, I've seen supernatural splatter films, I've seen action splatter films, I've seen revenge splatter films, I've seen comedy splatter films. I've seen so many splatter films that I think it might be probably the genre I've probably watched the most of amongst exploitation films. I'm pretty sure of it, at least.